Well, hello and welcome to the Wednesday webinar for American Business Systems. I really appreciate everyone joining us this afternoon to learn more about starting a medical billing business. And I can see we've got lots of folks coming into the webinar here and getting logged in and set up. So we're going to allow for a few minutes for everyone to join us. As everybody's logging in, if you can find your way to the Zoom controls, you'll see in your Zoom control panel, you should have a Q&A button. And if you can access that button, please do drop me a quick note in the Q&A panel and just say hello and give a shout out to where you're from. And we'd love to see that the audio is working properly and that everyone's able to jump in. You're hearing my voice. Everything's working properly. Michael, thank you so much. Glad to have you joining us from Wisconsin. Thanks for the thumbs up. Fred, you as well. Appreciate you logging in from North Carolina. And thanks for letting me know that the audio is working properly. You know, most of the time Zoom is workable, but every once in a while we have audio difficulties. So it's nice to know that everything's coming through properly. Got lots of folks coming in here and saying hello. Appreciate that. For those of you who are just joining us, please do find the Q&A button in your Zoom controls and say a quick hello. Give us where you're logging in from. Anthony, thanks for saying hi. Glad to have you joining from New Jersey. And Ari, thanks for joining from Phoenix. Love Phoenix, got some good friends there. Sean, thanks for joining us from Boston. Appreciate you dialing in today. Catherine from Delaware, thanks for joining us. I appreciate you saying hello. Glad to see that the audio is working properly. Shah from Frisco, thank you for logging in today. We always enjoy having everyone join us on these live webinars. We're going to be going through a live Q&A today. This is just going to be somewhat of an open mic format here. And so you're going to use that Q&A panel to type questions to us. So everybody's getting used to using that. Thanks for saying hello. I can see we've still got a few people logging in and joining us. For those of you who are coming in, if you haven't said hello, please do click on the Q&A button in your Zoom controls and let us know that everything's working properly. You can hear my voice. And if you want to give a shout out as to where you're logging in from, we'll say hello to you. It looks like we've got a pretty good crowd here today. Let me introduce myself. My name is Jason Pettit. I am the Chief Growth Officer with American Business Systems. I have been lucky to be a part of American Business Systems for 17 years. I'm going to celebrate my 18-year anniversary this fall. And this is an awesome company, family-owned and operated business. We've been helping people start successful medical billing businesses for 31 years. And I'm lucky to have been a part of it for about half of the journey. And as I mentioned, we are going to be answering questions live today. The entire webinar will be totally live. You can throw your questions at us and we will start answering those questions in about 5 to 10 minutes. So if you have been looking at us and hitting our YouTube channel, maybe you've been on a few of these webinars before. If you have any questions at all, go ahead and type those into the Q&A panel right now. We're going to take any and all questions for the full duration of the webinar today. So you can find the Q&A button. I know most of you have already said hello. Go to that same button, type in any question you want, and we're going to jump in and start answering those here in just a few minutes. A couple of things about American Business Systems. I can see we have a few people still trickling into the webinar here today, so we want to give everybody a chance to get settled before we jump into the Q&A. First of all, we have had some accolades from some industry publications. This is a sister company of one of our channel partners, Franchise Dictionary. Franchise Dictionary is an awesome magazine. It's totally free. You can go get a free subscription to it, and they'll deliver it to your inbox every month. Just go to franchisedictionary.com, and there's no requirement. You can just sign up and they'll get that straight to you. So year over year, for the last 4 years, we have been listed as I can see the badge. I probably need to update that. That's 2023. For the last 4 years, we've been listed as a top 100 game changer with Franchise Dictionary magazine. Great publication, loads of information about franchising. If you haven't already run across it, I'd recommend checking it out. There's lots of great stuff in there. As I mentioned in my introduction, we have been helping people start successful medical billing businesses for 31 years. We have everything that you need to start a successful medical billing business. You can see all the services you can offer as an American Business Systems owner. This is a full service solution for private practice doctors. So when you're growing your business, you're able to help doctors with just about every aspect of their cash flow management. Of course, the medical billing service is our core service, and that's where most of the revenue comes from and most of the benefits the physician comes from. But we can help with just about every aspect of what a private practice does from an operational standpoint. We also offer training and support, and we are the only franchise in the world that has a 30-day unconditional 100% money back guarantee. We're really proud of that. And, just like most of you probably on the webinar today, you want to make sure that this business is a good fit for you. We want that as well. It's very difficult to support someone and help them have a successful endeavor with us if you're not convinced that this is the right business for you. So if you go through training and you discover that this is just not what you're looking for, doesn't matter what the reason is, you let us know and we issue a full refund. We have a lot of tools and resources to help you explore our business opportunity. One of the things you can check out if you haven't already, you can go to our main website. It's at absystems.com. You can see the URL down in the bottom right corner of your screen. And at the very top of that, of our main webpage, you'll see the download button for our free ebook, 5 Secrets to Success. So this is going to give you some of the tips and tricks that we've figured out on how to have a successful medical billing business. Some of you may have already downloaded the ebook and seen it. If you haven't, go grab it. It's got some good information in it. We've had a handful of people join us in the last couple of minutes. I just want to point out again, this is a live webinar. This is not recorded. And this webinar is a live Q&A. So we're going to start taking questions here in just a couple of minutes. I'm going to introduce my co-host and we're going to start answering questions live. So if you haven't already, please go into the Q&A button in your Zoom controls and start typing those questions out. It really helps us. Of course, we've got topics we can just bring up and discuss, but it's a lot more fun if you have questions and we can take those live. So you can start typing those questions in right now. Click on the Q&A button, type in your questions, and in about 2 to 3 minutes, we're going to start answering those questions. I'm going to introduce our co-host today. This is our CEO, Adam Phillips. Adam and I have been best friends since grade school, so I've known him just about my entire life. So Adam's the CEO of American Business Systems. He's also a published author. He wrote the ebook, 9 Ways Doctors Let Money Slip Through Their Fingers, which is an awesome book. It's also a great marketing tool that you'll have access to as you're growing your business. He's been published in many different industry magazines. This is Billing and Coding magazine, and he's most recently had an article published on artificial intelligence. Of course, everybody wants to know how AI is going to play a role in the medical billing industry and really in every industry. So if you'd like a copy of that article, please do reach out to your ABS representative that you're talking to, and they can get a copy of that article to you. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce our CEO, Adam Phillips. Adam, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Jason. Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad to be on today. Glad to answer some questions from people that are looking into the opportunity. That article about AI, was written a little while back, and so I'm keeping my finger on the pulse of AI technology and trying to stay on top of everything that's going on. The good news is all of our partners with regard to software technologies that we're utilizing for our doctors and our business owners, they all have AI tools built into them now. So they've got some really cool stuff that have been able to help the doctors improve their bottom line, which is what this is all about. I also have another new article, which I don't even think I told you, Jason, but I've got a new article coming out in the next issue of Billing Coding about how more than ever in the entire history of billing do doctors need to outsource to billing services because they've got so many rules and regulations that they're trying to deal with. A lot of pressure for them to, make sure that claims are filed properly, timely. So it's a great time to be in this business for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. AI is a funny topic because, there's a fear AI is going to come in and, the robots are going to take over everything. And if you've used any AI tools, some of them are really great. I mean, they're good for lots of things and can help with workflows and automating certain things. But there's certain aspects of operations that in any industry are just tough to automate and completely remove the human element. The thing that comes to mind always when I think of people saying like, "Oh, AI is going to, replace every job that's out there." We do some shopping at Costco, and Costco had a bunch of those self-service checkout counters. And the line for the self-service counters were, there's usually like 30 people waiting in line, and they would have to have 5 or 6, employees monitoring those machines because everybody would get stuck on them. And, it's an all right thing to have, and we would use them and everything. But after a time, I noticed they ripped those things out. And what that tells me, because Costco is very, they're called Costco for a reason. They're very cost, conscious. They ripped those things out because it was not cost effective to have those machines there because they had to just, constantly intervene when people couldn't figure out the technology. So very much that applies to this industry. There's certain aspects of what our owners do for these doctors that just requires somebody with know-how to navigate and help the doctors get better results.
Yep.
So we're going to jump into the live Q&A. I can see some questions queuing up here. The very top question is from Ari. It looks like a great question to jump into. Adam, I might let you handle that one. But before we answer that question, just so everybody knows, we've had a couple people log in the last couple minutes. We are taking questions live. We're going to start with this first question from Ari, but please do go to the Q&A button in your Zoom controls. Type your question in, and we are just going to start hitting these questions one after the other. So let's get cranking. And Adam, how about you take this first question from Ari?
Yeah, Ari says, great question. I'm starting an ABS. My question is for you two hosts. I'm starting an ABS franchise as a new franchisor, but I have no background in medical billing and coding. Should I begin advertising to local small private practices like dental or orthopedic clinics, or focus instead on mid-sized medical clinics? I'm asking because here in Phoenix, there are a lot of both. That's a good question. So, figuring out your target market is one of our core competencies, our support. We will help you take a look at your area, try to figure out what's going on there, and we can definitely help you, target certain types of specialties, certain practice sizes. But I can tell you right now, dental maybe not so much. A lot of dentist office, there's fewer codes related to dental billing, and so that, we do have owners that do some dental billing, but there's much more money to be made in the medical clinics, general practice, orthopedic, surgeons. So we have a whole list of specialties that we will provide that work really well. This is the other thing is there's a list of specialties that work really well with the platforms that we promote and that we use. So that's another thing that you're going to want to try to focus on. But yeah, do you have anything to add to that one?
Yeah, it's a great question, Ari. When you go through training, we're going to teach you 30 types of specialty medicine to focus your marketing on. And it's not that you can't be a solution for any type of doctor, dentist, chiropractor, whoever. Basically anybody that files a claim is a potential client. However, you'd want to make sure that if you're putting energy into marketing, you're trying to connect with the best kinds of clients so that you make the most income for your business and so that those doctors get the strongest benefits. So we're going to teach you those 30 types of medicine when you go through training. And sneak preview, the top 3 types of medicine as far as clients that our owners have. What I mean by this is our owners have the most clients in these 3 categories of specialty medicine. Number 1 is cardiology. Number 2 is podiatry, foot doctors. Number 3 is pain management. Now, there's some reasons for those. We won't go into deep detail, but we teach you how to target your marketing to those kinds of doctors. You make a pile of money. The doctors dramatically increase their revenue. That helps you get clients quickly, and that helps those clients stick with you. If you can give dramatic improvements to the doctor's revenue, they're not going to go anywhere. When it comes time to renew the contract with your company, they're going to renew that contract because they don't want to lose out on the benefits that you've been delivering to their operations and to their profitability. So great question, Ari, and thanks for bringing that. Looks like we got a bunch of questions queued up here, and let me just call out one more time so that anyone who hasn't had a question pop in yet can do that. All you have to do is click on the Q&A button in your Zoom controls, and you can add your question to the list here. We've got a whole bunch already ready to go. So I might take this next question, Adam, from Michael. Michael is asking, what are my overhead costs for the business? And that's a good question. This is a unique industry. When you start your business, there's not a lot of cost outside of our initial investment of $30,000. There are some costs that you would have with any business. Things like, it's a good idea to form an LLC, both for tax benefits and also for some legal protection. Having the company in your personal name does expose you a little bit if there was ever some kind of a problem or litigation. So an LLC is a good idea, although in 31 years, I don't think I'm aware of a single time that any of our owners have ever had a legal problem. But it's a good idea to have it for tax purposes. That's usually $200 to $300 as an upfront expense before you have your business structured properly. Your website, we're partnered with a marketing company. The website's like $200 a year. That includes the hosting, your domain registration, your email addresses, and that includes some light customization and getting the site published and everything. It's a good deal. And it's a perfectly fine site for your first couple of years of business. But of course, at any point, if your business really takes off, you can take that site over and hire your own developer and build whatever you want. Ongoing cost, after the upfront cost, most of our owners choose to file the claims themselves rather than hire medical billers to file the claims, especially in the first year or two of business. So your very first client that you get, it wouldn't make a lot of sense to hire a biller because a single biller handling a single client, the math isn't that good. You'd have a little bit of profitability, but it's difficult to justify a biller for that kind of scenario. But when you get to 3 or 4 clients, it starts to make a lot more sense. We can go into more of a profitability scenario later, but that's really the main cost, is when your business grows to the point where you don't want to file the claims anymore, you want to pay someone to do it. We can get really inexpensive labor through our staffing partner, and you can get a full-time 40-hour-a-week medical biller for around $2,000 a month. And that biller can manage multiple accounts, anywhere from usually 3 to 5 accounts. So, those 3 to 5 accounts might produce anywhere from $150,000 to $250,000 a year in income for your business, and your labor outflow, operationally, your cost is going to be around $25,000 a year. Pretty good math, right? Outside of that, we assume you have a phone. Most people use their cell phone. You can get a virtual number if you want, but it's not necessary. You need internet access and things like that. But I mean, you've already got all that type of stuff. We do have a document called our research guide that your ABS rep can deliver to you that does go into a lot more detail on what costs you might incur in operating your business. It goes into quite a lot of detail. So if you don't already have that research guide, you get a lot more information on the costs and operations. Did I hit everything, Adam? Anything to add to
Yeah,
that one?
I was going to mention the research guide. So yeah, that'll give you the additional details. But yeah, you touched on everything. This is a very, very low overhead business. I mean, most of our owners work from home. They work remote from home. They even when they hire people, everyone works remote. So pretty low overhead. There's not a lot of real expensive marketing costs like there is with traditional franchises either. So yeah, I think you hit on most of it there.
Great.
I wanted to touch on, I wanted to read this one from Christine, and she may have to expand on this a little bit. Christine was asking, how does the ABS billing system work? So I'm not sure if you're talking about our program as a whole or the software systems that we use. Maybe if you want to expand on that. But she also says, what's special about ABS? Well, our primary thing that we have to brag about is the fact that we can get you from zero to trained up to a paying client in a matter of months. Literally, we can help you get doctors to where they're signing contracts with you in an average of maybe 2 or 3 months after the training. That's really, really tough to do. I don't know if anyone on here has ever tried, your own medical billing business on your own, but if you don't have a team of experts behind you that know exactly how to market, they know what's going to get the doctor's attention. They know how to put together proposals. They know how to do an analysis of a practice to figure out what's wrong. They know how, business agreements, contracts, everything we are experts at. So we can very quickly, onboard you and get you to where you're out there marketing and signing up clients. That's the main reason why people would want to invest with us. I just had a phone call with somebody earlier who has a ton of experience. She was a she is currently a practice manager for several different practices. And she's very well versed in billing, coding, all that good stuff. But she's never run her own business. She's always worked for someone else. And so she told me, she said, I need someone like ABS to help me market and help me, get doctors to the finish line where they're signing contracts. That's what I'm not good at. I don't have any experience. And that's what we do. So, in addition to all the other stuff that we include, all the, several thousand printed marketing pieces, like Jason said, you get your own website and lifetime support. So hopefully that helps answer that.
And don't forget, a huge differentiator, both in with any competitor in the medical billing franchise space, but really any franchise that's out there, nobody has a 30-day unconditional 100% money back training guarantee. You might say, oh, it's just a training guarantee. You're not guaranteeing clients. Nobody guarantees clients. If you start a franchise, you're taking a leap of faith. We guarantee our training because we want to make sure it's right for you. We feel like that's a huge difference with any of our competitors or even general franchising. Once you write that check with any other opportunity, you're going to have to sue to get that money back. With us, if it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit. We realize that. We want you to have something that is going to work for you. So don't sleep on the guarantee. We feel like it's really strong.
Yep.
We're proud to offer it.
Yep.
Fred's got a great question here. What are the primary challenges that new franchisees face? And in addition, how can I prepare for and mitigate these challenges? Great question. Very well written, Fred. Thank you for that. So I would say the number one challenge in this business is getting your first client, because that's where the rubber meets the road and you have to put energy into client acquisition. That's true with any new business. Sometimes when you go into a new restaurant or you go into, a new retail store or something like that, behind the cash register, you'll see a framed dollar bill, that first dollar that the business made. And it's just so exciting when you get that first client and that first paycheck from that client. it's because it's tough. Starting a business, if anybody tells you starting a business is easy, you know that that's not true. It takes effort. And so I would say the biggest challenge that our new owners face is just that fear and anxiety of marketing and getting that first client. We have had every type of individual you can imagine go out and get clients using our methods. There's a reason, again, we have that 30-day guarantee for training. We teach you these methods. If you're not confident at the end of training, it's not for you. But when you actually launch your business and start engaging with potential clients, it's trial and error. You may talk with a few doctors before you get one that is a really good fit and that ends up turning into a client. So the very first client would be the top challenge. How do you mitigate? How do you prepare? The number one thing I would say to have a really good understanding of what it takes in that first year of business, especially with client acquisition, is talk with some of our successful owners. And if you're exploring other franchises, same thing applies. If you're working with the franchisor or business opportunity, if they're not voluntarily giving you a list of their owners to speak with, successful franchisees to speak with, run for the hills. You need to be able to talk with people who have used that model and learn from them and get insight from them and get comfortable with what their experience was. We have a huge list of references that have agreed to take calls. You can send them a text message, coordinate a time to chat, talk with a handful of our references, and you'll start to get a really clear idea of what it takes to grow a business like this. I would say that's the number one thing to prepare. Adam, anything to add to that one?
I think you hit on it pretty well. Yeah. Everybody's challenges are different. It depends a lot on your background. Are you good at technical software? Do you have billing experience? Do you have sales experience, marketing experience? So yeah, but I would agree with the number one challenge being getting those first couple of clients under your belt. And that's what we're here for. That's our number one goal, is to get you generating revenue as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. Christine's got a question here, follow up to her first question, which is hospice a good way to start the business? I think meaning would hospice companies be a good target client? Definitely they would not be in our sweet spot, and we would not want to target them as, if you had to pick of any type of client that you would, put marketing effort and marketing cost into, hospice would not be the way to go. The reason for that is the way that hospice is billed is a little more complex than the way a regular private practice physician would bill, where, patients come in to see them in their private office. That billing is a little more straightforward, and we're able to achieve stronger results for that scenario. Whereas hospice has an element of durable medical equipment sometimes. It has an element of pharmacy billing. There's just some different things that increase the complexity, where you certainly wouldn't want it to be your first client. That's probably an easier way to say that. But as far as being a potential client, you could explore hospice clients. You just wouldn't want to target them. I think I'm saying that right.
Yeah, nope. I don't have anything to add to that. That's correct.
Great.
Now we do partner. Sorry, we do have a software partner, and Christine also had a question about software that I'm going to get to. Actually, I can get to it right now. Christine was asking about the software system in particular and kind of how it works and that sort of thing. Christine, so we have a little bit of a different model. Our expertise is marketing and getting clients, business development. That's what we're really good at. So we didn't want to try to spend millions of dollars reinventing the wheel with software development. We are not software developers. So what we found works really well for us and our business owners is to partner with some of the top practice management EHR platforms in the industry. And so we have three primary partners that we're working with right now. What are they called? NextGen, RxNT, and Myriad. So we can go into detail on another phone call about those systems, but they basically are all white labeled. So when you read on our materials, if you read about Claim, that's our white label for the billing practice management system. If you read about EMRX, that's a brand name for the medical record system. The good news is this isn't for a sales situation at all. You know, I just had a phone call with somebody who was asking me and saying, I really don't want to be a salesperson. I don't want to be in the EHR sales game. And I said, guess what? You're not. You know, we show you how to analyze a doctor's practice. And if you are able to identify enough issues to where maybe it does make sense for them to switch to our platforms, then we can do everything in our power with demos and everything else to get them excited about switching over. But we know that that's not always reality. There's a lot of doctors that, for whatever reason, they're not going to switch no matter what you say or do. And that's perfectly fine. They're still a potential client. You can tell that doctor, I will get into your existing system and I will learn it. And with our help, we will help you learn it. And I will be able to do a better job than what your team is doing right now. No, so it really doesn't matter what system they have. It's just great that we have these three really, really good choices that are highly rated in the industry. So hopefully that kind of explains that a little bit better.
I think pretty sure. Can we be real about software for a minute? I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
You're filing medical claims. If you're talking about the claims filing software, every single software program on the market uses the same CMS 1500 form to file claims for private practice doctors. The buttons may look a little different. The layout may be a little different. There could be a couple of tools and features that are a little different, but one system versus another system, you're filing claims. You can use pretty much any system on the market and have a similar experience. Do we have some advantages? Sure, we have some great features. Same thing goes for the practice management system. The practice management system is the system that the doctor's front office will use. So the receptionist would use it for, like putting patients on the calendar for appointments, pulling up records, managing, patient statements and things like that. It's a great system. And then the electronic health record system is what I call the back office system. And that's what the doctor, the physician assistant, and the nurse practitioner will use in the exam room with the patient, literally gathering the symptoms and, sending out the e-prescriptions and doing all the charting on an electronic device. We have great platforms. We have tons of features. We have, with our premier partner, NextGen, we have 7 patented features. One of them is a real showstopper. But when you're growing a business like this, the doctors couldn't care less what software you're using. They don't care what your features are. It would be just like if I came to, anybody attending the webinar today and I said, hey, I have this great email app. It's got all these features and, what could I do to convince you to changing your email app to my email app? I would venture to say every person on this webinar would say, I don't have any interest whatsoever. And I wish you would stop talking because I'm not changing my email for anything. I don't have a problem that you can fix. What if I said on the webinar, anybody that pops in the Q&A panel right now and says that they'll use my email system for the next year, I'll pay you $10,000 a month to use my email. I guarantee you this Q&A panel would light up like a Christmas tree of people saying, let me see what this email is, right? That's literally what we do for doctors. We don't talk about software at all. We go in and talk about increasing profitability in their practices. Most doctors dramatically increase their profit using our systems and services. So when you're talking with the doctor, you're not selling software features. What you're selling is revenue increase. We give the doctor a proposal that shows exactly what their revenue increase will be. We don't even talk about software until we've given a proposal and until we know what we can do for that doctor. Then we show the software. So they already know they could be getting $5, $10, $15, $20,000 a month of additional revenue. Then we show the software. And yeah, we've got a lot of great features and most of the doctors choose to use the system. So just trying to be transparent about things. Software is great. It's important. You want to have a full featured system, but it's much more about helping the doctors increase revenue.
Makes sense.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. What question next?
Michael was asking, how do I stay up to date on medical billing codes and regulations? Well, good news is, Michael, you don't have to do that. We don't teach coding, in fact. So coding is an aspect that happens before the billing happens, and you really do have to go to a school to be certified, and that could take a long time. That could take 2 years to become coding certified. So our system makes it very easy for people to do the basic coding. In fact, our system actually makes it very easy for the doctors themselves to do the coding right after you see the patient. So if you want to see a demo of our system, we can give you a demo of how easy it is for the doctors to do their own coding and select the codes. And because our systems are cloud-based, anytime there's changes to the coding database, which there are changes and updates frequently, every time you log in, every time the doctors log into the system, you have the latest, greatest version of the codes. There's a dashboard that tells you, okay, the government is changing the rules on this particular way that you got to do things, and you're going to have to do it this way, and your system's going to have to meet these certifications, and we're going to have it ready well in advance of the government timeline. So you can just look at it and go, oh, okay, cool. So my system, as soon as I log in on that date, it's going to be ready with those regulation changes and everything, and you don't even have to worry about it. So it's very, very cool. There's some other answers to that question too, though. We have a coding partner that can do coding. If a doctor comes to you and says, "Hey, I don't want to do my own coding. Can you help me with that?" We have a partner that will do the coding. And so that's another revenue option for you, revenue generator for you. Additionally, in addition to the billing. I was going to say something else on that and I lost it. Do you have any other thoughts on that?
I mean, I think you hit all the high notes on it. And actually, Fred has almost the exact same question. Legal and regulatory requirements in his area. How do we help navigate those regulations? So, like Adam said, you don't have to have any type of certification or licensing to run a medical billing business. When most people think about certifications in this business, they're thinking about, as Adam mentioned, certified coding, which is a specialized, lots of training, lots of experience required type function. So in order to run a business like this, if we were to take the time to try to turn you into an expert certified coder, we wouldn't even be starting the business, for a year or two, at least. And then you really wouldn't even have much to offer until you got a client and had about a year's experience in that area of medicine doing the coding. So it just doesn't make any sense. So like Adam said, instead of trying to train our owners to be certified coders, we're partnered with a third-party certified coding company that can help the doctors dial in the codes. So that's how we, manage that. It's kind of the quickest possible startup process. There are no state or federal regulations, licensing, or requirements to run a business like this, aside from the general business requirements in your state. Every state is going to ask you to register your business with the state, right? You form an LLC, you register the company name with the state. Different states have different requirements for that. But aside from that, there's nothing else that you have to have in place from a compliance standpoint. Now, when you're providing these services, and especially when the doctor's using the software, there are certifications and compliance regulations that very much come into play with the technology. But again, our partners manage that. They have huge departments to manage compliance, and we stay way out in front of all those regulations and everything. So we help you navigate it. If there's any big changes in the industry, anything that's going to affect our owners, you're going to get a pop-up on our support site in the news feed with a webinar, and attend the webinar or watch the recording of the webinar to figure out, if you need to change anything in your operations to maintain compliance. We help you every step of the way, lifetime support.
Good. Yeah. Let's see. Christine was asking, what's the payment term to sign up to be a franchisee? So I keep reading that term franchise.
Yeah.
I know that you probably found us on one of those franchise websites, but we're actually a little bit of a different model. So just so you know, it's a business opportunity where there are no royalties paid back to us. When you sign up a doctor client, that contract is between you and the practice, the doctor, and that's it. You don't owe anything else to ABS. There's no percentage, there's no revenue split, there's no percentage paid to us. 100% of the money that you earn from that doctor is yours. So to answer your question, what's the payment term? Our investment is a one-time investment of $30,000, and that includes everything, all the software, all the marketing materials. You get your own website, lifetime support, and that does have to be paid to us in full in a lump sum up front. So we don't do any financing there. So that's it for that one.
Easy question. You took the easy one. I'll take this question from Michael. How does ABS help with client acquisition and retention? Both very important. As a business owner, am I responsible for generating my own leads? Great questions. So we've been doing this for 31 years. We have 3 decades of industry experience marketing to doctors and helping our owners get clients. We have 10 different marketing strategies that we teach. These marketing strategies work. We have a 30-day training guarantee for a reason. If you got into training and learned these strategies and were like, these are a joke, you can't get clients with these, get your money back. So we're teaching you strategies that have been proven. We have owners all the time pick up clients really, really quickly. In fact, Adam, you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but I think it was yesterday, we had a client, one of our owners finish their training in April or May and already have their first client. I don't remember what any of the terms of that client were, but that happens all the time. A general rule of thumb is if you pay attention during training, you follow our marketing strategies, and as soon as training is over, you just hit the ground running and you go out and execute on those strategies. You work with our support team, talk with them, partner really closely with our support team. You ought to have your first client in about 60 to 90 days. So we help with client acquisition. If you follow the plan and you work with our support team, 60 to 90 days, you should have your first client. Client retention, what we do for these doctors is we help them increase revenue. Usually doctors increase their revenue 20 to 30% using the services of our owners. So when you provide that to a doctor and then they see that, usually in 90 days, they've lifted their revenue to that 20 to 30%. When the 12 or 24 or 36 month contract term rolls around and it's time to renew, they're not going anywhere. They want to keep that increased average monthly revenue. They don't want to go back down and start getting worse and worse results with their claims reimbursements. So that's a big factor. Also, if you have a competitor medical billing company coming in who, is walking in the door saying, hey, how much are you paying for your billing? Oh, you're paying 6%. Well, we'll do it for 4%, just the low price kind of approach. Well, guess what? The doctor's not going to risk 1 to 2% reduction in cost to risk a 20% increase in revenue. So it makes your clients bulletproof from that standpoint, from a retention standpoint. Lead generation in this industry, in other industries, right? If you're starting a house painting business, a house painting franchise, lead generation is really important. If I want to paint my house, I'm going to go on Google and type in, house painting service and look at the top results, look at reviews, and then I'll click into one of them, and I'm going to become a lead for that house painting franchise. When doctors are looking for help with their insurance reimbursements and managing their cash flow, by and large, they are not going online and filling out, forms for information. What we find is doctors are leaning on their trusted advisors, the industry connections that they have, people they trust and work with. they're relying on that to get referrals to billing companies that aren't going to just obliterate their revenue. So we teach strategies that help our owners get in front of doctors using referral partners that the doctors already know and trust. There's a lot of ways to do this. The primary ways are medical sales reps. We teach you how to find medical sales reps to get introduced to the physicians that need these kinds of services. The reps already have the relationships with the doctor's offices. We also teach another similar strategy with business networking groups. We teach you how to use business networking groups to get introduced to the physician clients of the other professionals in those business networking groups. We found this to be much, much better than lead generation, where you're working 100 leads and maybe 2 or 3 out of those 100 leads will even talk with you. Now, if you want a marketing list, if you just want a list of doctors, that's easy. We have access to the MPI database. We can give you a localized list of doctors in your area that you can market to, but we don't call that a lead, right? These aren't people who have requested information. It's just a blanket marketing list that you could do bulk mail to or something like that. So referral-based and networking-based marketing we found to be much, much more effective.
All right. Good stuff. I am going to address Ari's question in a certain way. Basically, Ari is asking, how does ABS compare to your competitors? We have one competitor that we hear about very frequently. They've been around about as long as we have. They have a similar program with some very distinct differences. So Jason hit on the big ones earlier in the webinar. So the big three differences are the money back guarantee. So we are the only company letting you try this business out, and after 30 days, if you don't like it, you get your money back. And we have a question about that we'll address here in a second. The other thing is, it's pretty important, is all of the technologies, all the platforms that we've been referring to, everything is true 100% cloud-based, which means accessible anywhere in the world with internet, and all the updates, backups, unlimited users, everything is done by us, managed by us. There's nothing, you don't have to be technical at all. Our competitor does mention a cloud system, but when you get into it, they're wanting you to purchase or rent servers and install their software on servers. Their software was created in 1994, I believe, on the .NET framework. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not a technical guy, but it's a Windows-only server-based software that has to be installed on hard drives. And you are responsible for backing up the system. You are responsible for updating the system. And it's a lot more of a technical type thing that you got to be, you got to really know what you're doing. And lastly, they have limited support. So we support you literally for the life of your business. As long as you are in business, we are going to help you. And we've had people that, for a reason, life happens, and, something happens and they have to put the business on the shelf for a year or two. And they finally get to the point where they want to relaunch the business. They call us up. We help them relaunch the business. They don't pay us another dime to do that. So we're the only company that makes that happen. There's a lot of other advantages of the primary ones. Did I leave anything out that's important there?
Yeah, I'm reading Ari's question, and if I'm understanding the question correctly, I think you're asking about the performance, and I can't quite tell if you're asking about the performance of us as a company, of American Business Systems. To me, that wouldn't have quite as much relevance as the performance of our owners, as far as what level of success our owners achieve. And I would say that doesn't necessarily have so much to do with our model versus a competitor's model. It's kind of like, you're investing in a business model. It's kind of like getting the keys to a car. You get in the car, if you don't turn the key in the ignition, start the car. If you don't put gas in it, if you don't press the gas pedal, it doesn't go anywhere. So performance is very much dependent upon the individual owner. Also, the definition of success, it has quite a bit of variation. We have owners with a couple of clients that think they hit the lottery. It's the most money they've ever made in their entire life. And then we have some owners that think that's a joke, and they have hundreds of clients. So the performance of our owners is an incredibly wide range. We have two partners that have over 400 clients. So performance wise, you could go out and build a business with our system or with our competitor system. And you would be successful if you put the energy into it. We feel we have advantages, but that doesn't necessarily mean that either way is going to be prohibitive. If you mean as far as our performance as like how many owners we have and like what American Business Systems has generated and cash flow or market share or whatever, I would say it would probably be pretty similar. We would really have no way to know. We're all private companies, so nothing's published. I would expect we probably have a little bit more market share, but there'd be just no way to know that. So I'm not real sure, Ari, which side of the table you're talking about with your question there, but I would say performance is very much dependent upon the energy that the owner puts into the business and how closely they follow our marketing strategies and how closely they partner with our support team. Those are the main factors.
Great. Yeah, and just to follow up on the 30-day guarantee thing, Christine was asking, is it from the time we sign up or after the training? Can you give us a timeline for the 30-day? We actually have recently updated that to be even more advantageous, right, Jason?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. So previously we were starting it, I think, when we signed the agreement, but now we're starting it when you start your first training session. That's when the 30 days starts. And everyone is able to finish their training, those 10 modules, within 30 days, unless a job and you're working full time and it's super, super hard to carve out time for the training. But other than that, we get everyone through the training within 30 days. And then after you've seen everything, all the behind the scenes, the good, the bad, and the ugly, you can decide, yeah, you know what, this is for me, or maybe it's not for me, and you can ask for your money back. That's in writing in the agreement.
Yep. Easy.
Yeah, easy.
Fred's got another question here. Another easy question. Is ABS support unlimited? Absolutely. As long as you're running your business, we're there to support you. You get phone support, email support, and lifetime access to our support website. And our support website is awesome. So yes, unlimited. I want to really quickly comment. Shane put a question here. Shane, your question is going to be, I've got some good news for you. We would be delighted to help you again. Do please reply to any email you have received from us and just say, hey, I need somebody to get me connected with support and we'll help you get cranked up. So just reach out to anybody and say you need to connect with support and we'll help you out.
Yeah, you call our 800 too. That's it.
The 866 number, I'll throw that on the screen here. There's the 866 number. You can just, I think, is it number 2 for support?
Two. Yep.
Yeah, number 2 for support. They'll get you taken care of. Yeah. Welcome back. Okay, we've got about 6 minutes and all of a sudden the questions are flooding in. So do you see one you want to take, Adam?
Did you answer from Michael about the LLC?
I did not.
Michael was asking if mistakes are made, there are consequences for my client or my business. Do you recommend liability insurance on top of becoming LLC? Yes, exactly correct, Michael. The good news is your liability is very limited with this, not just because it's LLC, but also because our software partners are taking care of, like we mentioned earlier, they're taking care of all the regulatory stuff, the certifications required for doing the work the right way. There's a lot of government payment programs that, you have to file claims in a certain way and they have to do a certain level of, reporting, and it has a dashboard that lets the doctors see where they're doing well and where they need to improve to follow those government guidelines. So yeah, I mean the fact that we're doing that, you're set up as a limited liability company, your personal liability is very limited, not to make a pun there, but in this, anything to add on?
You broke up a little there. I couldn't hear what you were asking.
I was just asking if anything to add on that one. Yeah, I haven't heard of any kind of serious issues with anything, but yeah.
Liability insurance would be more for companies that have a retail footprint or a restaurant where somebody could slip and fall. Nobody's coming into your house meeting with you, you
Oh,
know.
sorry, I was just gonna. I remember my thought. We do talk about in training errors and omissions insurance, E&O insurance, and so in training we'll show you how that works, what it covers. You know, for some people it's a smart move. Some of our owners don't get it, but general liability, some do, and errors and omissions insurance, some do. So it's not required.
I think we are probably going to be out of time here if we're going to wrap up the last few slides. We've got a lot more questions than we have time for today if we're going to wrap up by the top of the hour. I do see there are some questions still lingering that we would love to weigh in on. Whoever sent you the invitation for this webinar, just respond to that email and your ABS rep would be happy to help you with more detail answering your questions. A lot of these are great questions, but we just unfortunately are out of time for the day. Couple of quick things as we're wrapping up. We went to this slide. If you just don't know where to start, if you don't know who your rep is, if you just landed on this webinar and you just need somebody to point you in the right direction to start researching ABS, lots of ways to do that. You can send an email to info@absystems.com. You can call our toll-free number, 866-565-8413. We'd be happy to get you paired up with somebody who can answer your questions.